In the vast emptiness of space, where time loses meaning and survival depends on ingenuity, one crew faces their greatest test yet. A routine mission turns into a nightmare when they encounter a phenomenon no human has ever survived, a cosmic storm unlike anything recorded in history. With their ship crippled and hope fading fast, they must fight not only the elements but also the growing despair within themselves. Can they find a way out before it's too late? Or will they become another forgotten story lost among the stars? Stay tuned to discover how far humanity can push its limits. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling tales from beyond our world. The starship, Aurora, drifted silently through the endless expanse of space, its sleek metallic hull reflecting faint glimmers of light from distant suns. It had been 3 weeks since the crew departed Earth, embarking on what was supposed to be a straightforward research expedition to map uncharted regions near the Andromeda Galaxy. For Captain Elena Voss and her team, this voyage represented both opportunity and adventure, a chance to explore realms untouched by humankind. Yet as the days stretched on, monotony began to creep into their routines. The hum of machinery became white noise, and the artificial gravity felt less like home and more like a constant reminder of isolation. Unbeknownst to them, however, something far greater than boredom awaited just beyond the horizon. Deep within the void, invisible forces stirred, gathering momentum as though preparing for some grand cosmic performance. Back on Earth, scientists monitoring solar activity noticed unusual spikes emanating from a distant sector of space. They called it a cosmic anomaly, dismissing it as little more than an interesting blip on their instruments. But anomalies have a way of evolving into catastrophes, especially in the unforgiving depths of interstellar travel. On board the Aurora Dash, sensors flickered momentarily, catching the attention of Chief Engineer Marcus Hale. He frowned at his console, running diagnostics that showed nothing amiss. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Perhaps it was intuition born from years spent repairing ships under pressure, or perhaps it was the subtle vibrations traveling through the deck plates beneath his feet. Whatever it was, Marcus made a mental note to double-check everything later. Little did he know, those vibrations were harbingers of the storm to come. As night fell aboard the ship, or rather, as the simulated cycle shifted to darkness, the crew settled into their quarters. Each member carried their own burdens, though none spoke openly about them. Elena wrestled with doubts about leadership. Dr. Priya Nair, the biologist, worried about leaving her family behind. Pilot Jace Morrow obsessed over perfecting every maneuver. Communications officer Ava Chen struggled with loneliness, and Marcus harbored guilt over past failures. These silent battles would soon be tested against something far greater than personal demons. Meanwhile, outside the safety of the ship's reinforced walls, the first tendrils of the storm began to take shape. Swirling clouds of charged particles danced across the void, crackling with energy that defied comprehension. What started as a whisper grew louder, feeding off the remnants of dying stars and ancient radiation. By the time anyone aboard the Aurora realized the danger, escape would already be impossible. Dawn broke, or rather, the ship's internal lighting adjusted to simulate morning. As the crew gathered for breakfast in the mess hall, conversation flowed easily, masking the underlying tension that always lingered during long missions. Jace joked about missing coffee shops back home, earning laughter from the group. Even Marcus cracked a smile, though his mind remained preoccupied with the strange readings from last night. He decided to bring it up casually, mentioning minor fluctuations in power distribution. No one seemed particularly concerned, attributing it to normal wear and tear. But then, without warning, the lights flickered again, dimming briefly before stabilizing. This time, there was no mistaking it. Alarms blared throughout the ship, startling everyone to their feet. Elena sprang into action, issuing orders with practiced precision. "Secure all stations," she commanded, her voice steady despite the sudden urgency. "Marcus, check the engines. Ava, monitor communications. Jace, prepare for evasive maneuvers if needed." Back in the engineering bay, Marcus worked quickly, scanning systems for signs of malfunction. His fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up diagnostic reports faster than most could read them. To his dismay, everything appeared functional, at least on paper. Yet the vibrations returned, stronger now, rattling tools loose from their magnetic holders. Somewhere deep inside the ship, metal groaned under unseen strain. Whatever was happening, it wasn't mechanical failure. Up in the cockpit, Jace fought to maintain control as the ship shuddered violently. Outside, the once clear view of starry skies transformed into a maelstrom of swirling colors. Brilliant streaks of purple and green zipped past the windows, accompanied by flashes of blinding light. Sensors overloaded, rendering navigation nearly impossible. Through it all, Ava tried desperately to establish contact with Earth, only to hear static in response. They were alone. Elena joined her team in the command center, assessing the situation with grim determination. Data streamed across multiple screens, painting a picture of chaos. Temperature gauges spiked erratically, radiation levels climbed dangerously high, and gravitational forces fluctuated unpredictably. Something massive and unnatural was bearing down on them, and it was closing fast. The storm engulfed the Aurora completely, wrapping it in a cocoon of energy that defied all known laws of physics. Outside, the swirling vortex twisted and churned, pulling debris from nearby asteroid fields into its maw. Each fragment collided with the ship's hull, sending shockwaves rippling through the interior. Alarms blared incessantly, their piercing tones blending with the groans of stressed metal. Inside the ship, the crew scrambled to stabilize systems as chaos reigned supreme. Dr. Priya Nair rushed to the medical bay, her mind racing faster than her feet. She knew the psychological toll of such an event could be just as deadly as the physical dangers. Her first priority was ensuring everyone remained calm, easier said than done when faced with annihilation. Back in the engineering bay, Marcus worked feverishly to reroute power to critical systems. The engine sputtered unpredictably, threatening to fail entirely. If they lost propulsion now, there would be no escaping the storm's relentless pull. Meanwhile, Jace fought against forces that seemed almost sentient. The controls vibrated violently under his hands, resisting every attempt to steer the ship clear of danger. On the main monitor, the swirling mass loomed larger, pulsating like some colossal beast preparing to strike. Ava, seated beside him, toggled between communication channels, searching for any sign of external assistance. Static filled the airwaves, mocking their isolation. Even if help existed, it was far beyond reach. Elena stood at the center of it all, her presence a steadying force amidst the turmoil. She barked orders with authority but tempered them with reassurance, reminding her team that survival depended on unity. Yet even she couldn't ignore the growing sense of dread gnawing at her resolve. Every decision carried weight. Every second counted. One wrong move could seal their fate. And then, without warning, the storm shifted. For a brief moment, the turbulence subsided, replaced by an eerie stillness. The crew froze, unsure whether this was respite or prelude to something worse. Through the cockpit window, they saw what appeared to be the eye of the storm, a vast, shimmering void surrounded by walls of radiant energy. It was beautiful yet terrifying, exuding both serenity and menace. Could it be their salvation? Or was it merely the calm before the final blow? The eerie calm proved fleeting. As soon as the crew began considering their options, the storm roared back to life with renewed ferocity. This time, however, it wasn't random destruction, it was calculated. The cosmic tempest seemed to adapt, targeting weak points in the ship's defenses with surgical precision. Sensors overloaded again, plunging the command center into near-total darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows across tense faces. Marcus cursed under his breath as another system failed. The backup generators kicked in, but they were unstable, sputtering like old engines pushed past their limits. He knew they couldn't keep this up indefinitely. Every second stretched longer than the last, each tick of the clock echoing ominously in his ears. Sweat dripped down his brow as he patched together makeshift solutions, praying they'd hold long enough to weather the storm. In the medical bay, Priya double-checked supplies, mentally cataloging what little they had left. Bandages, painkillers, antiseptics, all essential, yet woefully insufficient if anyone sustained serious injuries. She glanced at the door, half expecting someone to burst in bleeding or unconscious. So far, luck held. But how much longer could it last? Jace wrestled with the controls, trying everything in his arsenal to regain stability. The ship bucked wildly, throwing him against his seatbelt repeatedly. His knuckles turned white as he gripped the yoke tighter, refusing to give up despite mounting odds. Beside him, Ava continued scanning frequencies, hoping for a miracle. When none came, frustration bubbled over, spilling out in muttered curses aimed at the universe itself. Elena paced the length of the command center, her boots clicking softly against the metal floor. Despite outward appearances, her mind raced with possibilities. Should they try to navigate deeper into the storm, risking further damage in hopes of finding an exit? Or should they hunker down, conserving resources while waiting for the storm to pass? Neither option offered guarantees, and both carried risks too great to contemplate lightly. Just when despair threatened to overwhelm them, a glimmer of hope emerged. Buried deep within the storm's chaotic patterns, sensors detected a faint signal, a beacon of sorts, emanating from somewhere ahead. Could it lead to safety? Or was it another trap designed to lure them closer to doom? The discovery of the signal reignited a spark of determination within the crew. Against all logic, it felt like a lifeline thrown into the abyss, a chance, however slim, to claw their way back from the brink. Elena immediately ordered Ava to focus all efforts on deciphering its origin. Hours passed as Ava manipulated algorithms, filtering through layers of interference until finally, a location locked onto the map. It was close, not more than a few thousand kilometers away, but reaching it required navigating through the heart of the storm. Jay studied the coordinates carefully, mapping potential routes while factoring in unpredictable gravitational shifts. Each path presented new challenges, forcing him to weigh speed against caution. Time was not on their side. Already, the ship's structural integrity showed signs of strain. Cracks spiderwebbed along bulkheads, and panels sparked intermittently, releasing acrid smoke into corridors. Yet retreat wasn't an option. Staying put meant certain death. Priya joined Marcus in engineering, lending her analytical skills to troubleshooting efforts. Together, they devised contingency plans for every conceivable scenario, knowing full well that improvisation might ultimately save them. Tools clattered against the floor as they dismantled components, rewiring circuits to prioritize life support and navigation above all else. Exhaustion weighed heavily on them, but adrenaline kept them moving forward. As preparations neared completion, Elena gathered her team for a final briefing. Standing tall despite fatigue etched into her features, she outlined the plan with clarity and conviction. "We're going after that signal," she declared, meeting each person's gaze. "It's our best shot, and maybe our only one. Stay sharp, stay focused, and trust each other. We'll get through this." No cheers erupted, no shouts of agreement broke the silence. Instead, nods of understanding passed between them. Unspoken promises binding them together. They understood the stakes better than words could convey. With resolve hardened, they returned to their posts, ready to face whatever lay ahead. With engines roaring at maximum capacity, the Aurora plunged deeper into the storm, guided by sheer willpower and desperate calculations. The signal grew stronger, its rhythmic pulses cutting through the cacophony of chaos surrounding them. But so did the storm's wrath. Lightning-like discharges arced across the viewport, illuminating the crew's grim expressions. Each flash revealed cracks spreading wider across the reinforced glass, evidence of the immense pressure bearing down on them. Marcus monitored engine performance obsessively, tweaking settings to squeeze out every ounce of power. The ship groaned in protest, protesting the strain placed upon it. Warning lights blinked furiously, signaling overheating cores and failing coolant systems. Still, he refused to relent. Failure here meant abandoning not just the mission, but their very lives. Jace's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted course, dodging debris hurtling toward them at impossible speeds. The ship rocked violently, throwing loose equipment crashing to the floor. Ava clung to her station, recalibrating scanners to maintain lock on the signal. Sweat trickled down her temple, joining the droplets pooling beneath her collar. Despite the heat radiating from malfunctioning consoles, chills ran down her spine. Was the signal truly salvation, or a cruel mirage leading them straight into disaster? Back in the medical bay, Priya inventoried remaining supplies, mentally calculating how long they'd last if injuries mounted. Her thoughts drifted briefly to home, imagining the warmth of sunlight and sound of laughter. Shaking herself free of nostalgia, she refocused on the task at hand. Distraction equaled death here. Survival demanded absolute concentration. Elena watched it all unfold, her leadership tested like never before. Every decision carried monumental consequences. Every hesitation risked catastrophe. Yet amidst the turmoil, she found solace in her crew's resilience. Their unity gave her strength, fueling her determination to see them through this nightmare. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the source of the signal came into view. Nestled within the storm's turbulent embrace sat a derelict spacecraft, battered yet intact. Its design bore no resemblance to anything human-made, hinting at alien origins. Hope surged anew, tempered by caution. What awaited them inside? The alien vessel loomed before them, a silent sentinel adrift in the storm's fury. Its surface gleamed with iridescent hues, refracting light in ways that defied explanation. Panels shifted and rearranged themselves as though alive, responding to unseen stimuli. The sight was mesmerizing yet unnerving, evoking equal parts awe and unease. Elena hesitated only briefly before ordering Jace to dock with the mysterious craft. Magnetic clamps secured the Aurora to its counterpart, creating a precarious bridge between worlds unknown. Suiting up, the crew prepared to board, armed with tools and scanners rather than weapons. Caution dictated their approach. Curiosity drove them onward. Inside, the atmosphere shifted palpably. Air thickened, carrying faint traces of metallic tang mixed with something indefinable, almost organic. Walls pulsed faintly, mimicking biological rhythms rather than mechanical processes. Corridors twisted unpredictably, defying conventional geometry. Light emanated from sources invisible, casting eerie glows that danced across surfaces. Priya scanned environmental readings, noting anomalies that challenged scientific comprehension. Oxygen levels were breathable, but subtle variations hinted at artificial manipulation. Radiation signatures fluctuated erratically, suggesting dormant systems awakening around them. Meanwhile, Marcus examined structural integrity, marveling at materials unlike anything Earth possessed. Engineering marvels lay hidden within plain sight, waiting to be unraveled. Jace took point, navigating labyrinthine passages with practiced ease. Behind him, Ava documented everything, capturing images and data for later analysis. Her camera clicked rhythmically, punctuating the oppressive silence. Occasionally, faint whispers echoed through halls, indistinct yet deliberate. Were they remnants of former occupants, or warnings meant to deter intruders? Elena brought up the rear, vigilant for threats real or imagined. Her instincts screamed caution, urging restraint where curiosity begged exploration. Balancing these impulses fell squarely on her shoulders, a burden she bore stoically. Whatever secrets this ship held, uncovering them might mean the difference between salvation and annihilation. The deeper they ventured into the alien vessel, the more it seemed to respond to their presence. Panels shifted subtly as they passed, exposing intricate patterns that glowed faintly before fading away. It wasn't just a ship, it was alive, or at least something close to it. The air vibrated with an almost imperceptible hum, resonating in their chests like a heartbeat. Each step forward felt less like exploration and more like trespassing, as though the vessel itself weighed whether to welcome or repel them. Marcus ran his gloved hand over a wall, feeling its surface ripple beneath his touch. It was warm, unnervingly so, and gave slightly under pressure before firming again. He exchanged a glance with Priya, who nodded silently, her expression mirroring his unease. This wasn't technology, they were standing inside something far older, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever encountered. Yet for all its strangeness, there was purpose here. Every curve, every pulse of light served a function they couldn't yet comprehend. Jace led the group cautiously, his instincts honed from years navigating hostile environments. The corridors twisted unpredictably, defying logic and spatial reasoning. What should have been a straight path looped back on itself, forcing them to retrace steps only to find new routes opening where none existed before. Ava marked waypoints on her scanner, though even she doubted their accuracy. The alien ship seemed to toy with them, testing their resolve. Elena remained vigilant, scanning for signs of danger or opportunity. Her mind raced with questions. Who built this? Why abandon it here? And most importantly, why was it still active after untold millennia? The answers likely lay ahead, but so did risks. She reminded herself to trust her team, to rely on their collective expertise. Alone, they might falter. Together, they stood a chance. Finally, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. Its walls stretched high above them, curving inward to form a dome adorned with shifting constellations. At its center floated a crystalline structure, pulsating with soft, rhythmic light. It exuded an aura of power, commanding attention without uttering a sound. This was no ordinary artifact. It was the heart of the ship, the source of its vitality. But how could they harness it? The crystalline structure drew them in, its allure irresistible. Marcus approached first, his engineering instincts overriding caution. He scanned it with handheld tools, marveling at readings that defied explanation. Energy levels fluctuated wildly, yet somehow remained stable. Frequencies oscillated in harmonics that resonated with his very bones. Whatever this thing was, it operated on principles beyond human science. Priya joined him, observing the crystal's interaction with the surrounding environment. Tiny tendrils of light extended outward, connecting it to the walls, the floor, even the air itself. It wasn't merely powering the ship, it was sustaining it, breathing life into every inch of its being. "This isn't machinery," she whispered, awestruck. "It's symbiosis." Ava recorded everything, capturing angles and details that might prove crucial later. Yet her camera lens couldn't fully capture the essence of the scene. Some things transcended documentation, existing only in the moment. As she adjusted settings, she noticed something odd. The constellations projected onto the dome matched star charts she'd seen during her training, but inverted, as though viewed from another dimension entirely. Jace kept watch near the entrance, his gaze darting between the corridor and his teammates. Something about this place unsettled him deeply. The whispers grew louder here, coalescing into faint words he couldn't quite decipher. They weren't threatening, but they carried weight, urgency, perhaps, or maybe warning. Elena stepped closer to the crystal, her reflection distorted in its shimmering surface. She hesitated, then reached out tentatively. The instant her fingers brushed its surface, visions flooded her mind. Swirling galaxies, collapsing stars, civilizations rising and falling. Pain shot through her arm, sharp and searing, but she didn't pull away. Instead, clarity dawned, a fleeting glimpse of understanding. The storm outside wasn't natural, it was a defense mechanism, triggered by intruders. To escape, they needed to deactivate it, not destroy it. Understanding the crystal's purpose was one thing, interfacing with it was another entirely. The crew gathered around it, pooling their knowledge in a desperate bid to unlock its secrets. Marcus theorized that the crystal acted as a conduit, channeling energy from the storm to sustain the ship. If they could reroute that flow, they might weaken the storm enough to slip free. But doing so required precise calculations and a willingness to gamble with forces beyond comprehension. Priya suggested using the ship's own systems as a template. If they mimicked the energy patterns coursing through the alien vessel, they might trick the crystal into cooperating. Ava worked alongside her, analyzing frequency modulations and translating them into usable data. Together, they devised a sequence designed to synchronize with the crystal's output. Meanwhile, Jace prepped the Aurora for departure, ensuring all critical systems were online. Time was slipping away, the storm showed no signs of abating, and structural damage continued to mount. Sparks flew in the engineering bay as Marcus patched together a makeshift interface, connecting the alien crystal to their own systems. It was risky, potentially catastrophic, but necessity outweighed fear. Elena coordinated efforts, maintaining communication between teams while keeping morale intact. Doubt lingered at the edges of her thoughts, whispering doubts she refused to entertain. Failure wasn't an option, not when lives depended on success. With a deep breath, she gave the order to proceed. As the sequence initiated, the crystal pulsed brighter, its light engulfing the chamber. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the storm began to shift. The storm roared in protest, lashing out with renewed fury. Lightning arced across the viewport, striking the hull repeatedly. Inside, alarms blared anew, signaling systems pushed past their limits. But amidst the chaos, a pattern emerged, a weakening in the storm's ferocity, subtle but undeniable. Marcus monitored readings closely, adjusting parameters in real time to maintain stability. Sweat poured down his face, stinging his eyes, but he didn't dare look away. One miscalculation could undo everything. Beside him, Priya analyzed feedback loops, fine-tuning inputs to optimize efficiency. Their teamwork bordered on telepathy, each anticipating the other's needs without speaking. In the cockpit, Jace fought to keep the Aurora steady as turbulence intensified. The ship groaned under the strain, metal protesting against forces bent on tearing it apart. Ava relayed updates from the alien vessel, her voice steady despite the tension gripping her throat. "We're almost there," she reported, clinging to hope as much as facts. Elena paced the command center, her mind racing through contingencies. If the plan failed, they'd need an alternative strategy, and quickly. Yet part of her refused to believe failure was inevitable. Not after coming this far. Not after risking everything. Then, abruptly, the storm relented. Its swirling vortex unraveled, dissipating into wisps of residual energy. Outside the viewport, stars reappeared, twinkling innocently against the blackness of space. Silence fell, profound and absolute. For a long moment, no one spoke. They simply stared, disbelieving yet grateful. The sudden calm was almost surreal. Exhaustion hit the crew like a tidal wave. crashing over them with waves of fatigue and relief. Marcus slumped against a console, letting his head fall into his hands. Priya sank onto a nearby bench, closing her eyes briefly before forcing herself to stand again. Jace leaned back in his seat, staring blankly at the now clear skies ahead. Ava sat quietly, replaying footage of the alien vessel, searching for answers that eluded her grasp. Elena allowed herself a rare moment of vulnerability, leaning heavily against the bulkhead. Her shoulders sagged, bearing the weight of responsibility lifted but not forgotten. They'd survived, yes, but at what cost? The alien ship drifted silently behind them, its mysteries unresolved. Had they tampered with forces better left untouched? Or had they merely scratched the surface of something greater? Repairs began immediately, prioritizing essential systems to ensure safe travel. Damage assessments revealed cracks running deep, requiring extensive work once they returned to friendly territory. Supplies dwindled dangerously low, necessitating rationing until they reached port. Yet despite these challenges, spirits soared. They'd faced death and triumphed, forging bonds stronger than steel. As the Aurora limped homeward, conversations turned reflective. What had they learned? What did it mean to encounter such advanced intelligence? Questions lingered, unanswered but cherished. Perhaps some mysteries weren't meant to be solved, only experienced. The silence of space enveloped the Aurora once more, but it was different now, charged with a quiet reverence. The crew had survived the storm and uncovered fragments of an alien mystery that defied comprehension. Yet as they drifted homeward, the weight of their experience settled over them like a shroud. Each member retreated into their thoughts, grappling with what they had seen, felt, and endured. Marcus spent hours alone in the engineering bay, staring at the makeshift interface he'd built to connect with the alien crystal. His hands still bore faint burns from the energy surge, but it wasn't physical pain that troubled him. It was the realization of how small humanity truly was. The technology aboard the alien vessel made Earth's most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. For all his expertise, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was merely scratching the surface of something far greater. He wondered if humanity would ever be ready to wield such power responsibly, or if curiosity alone might lead to destruction. Priya, meanwhile, pored over data logs late into simulated nights, her mind racing with possibilities. The biological nature of the alien ship fascinated her. Its ability to adapt, heal, and sustain itself mirrored processes found in living organisms. Was this proof of extraterrestrial life, or evidence that machines could evolve beyond their creators? She sketched diagrams in her notebook, mapping connections between the crystal's energy patterns and organic systems. Every new insight sparked a dozen more questions, leaving her both exhilarated and overwhelmed. Jace found solace in routine, running diagnostics on the Aurora's battered systems. Flying through the storm had pushed his skills to the limit, forcing him to rely on instinct rather than instruments. Now, as he worked methodically to restore functionality, he replayed every decision, analyzing what he could have done differently. The memory of the ship bucking violently under his control haunted him, a reminder of how close they'd come to disaster. Still, there was pride too, a quiet acknowledgement that he'd risen to the challenge when it mattered most. Ava sat cross-legged in the communications bay, surrounded by holographic projections of the alien vessel's interior. Her camera had captured fleeting glimpses of movement within its corridors, shadows shifting where no light source existed. Were these remnants of past occupants or echoes of the ship's own consciousness? She zoomed in on certain frames, searching for patterns that might reveal intent. Though logic dictated skepticism, part of her believed the whispers she'd heard weren't random noise. They were communication, albeit one humanity wasn't equipped to understand. Elena, ever the leader, allowed herself rare moments of introspection only when alone in her quarters. She replayed the vision triggered by touching the crystal, haunted by images of civilizations rising and falling like waves upon a shore. Had they tampered with forces meant to remain untouched? Or had they taken the first step toward understanding a universe far vaster than imagined? As captain, she carried the burden of responsibility, not just for her crew's survival, but for whatever consequences their actions might unleash. It was a weight she wore reluctantly yet willingly, knowing leadership demanded sacrifice. Despite their individual struggles, the crew shared a profound bond forged in the crucible of survival. They didn't need words to express gratitude. Their unity spoke louder than any language. Together, they had faced the unknown and emerged stronger, not unscathed, but resilient. The sight of Earth filled the viewport, a blue-green jewel suspended against the endless blackness of space. After months adrift among the stars, its presence felt almost surreal. The Aurora approached the orbital station slowly, its damaged hull reflecting sunlight in uneven patches. Ground control hailed them with cheers and applause, voices crackling with excitement over the comms. "Welcome back, Aurora Dash. You've been missed." Docking procedures went smoothly despite lingering mechanical issues. As airlocks sealed and hatches opened, the crew stepped onto familiar ground, greeted by colleagues eager to hear their story. Reporters swarmed the station, microphones thrust forward, cameras flashing. Questions flew thick and fast. What happened out there? Did you find aliens? How did you survive? Elena held a press conference later that day, delivering a carefully crafted account of their ordeal. She described the cosmic storm, the alien vessel, and the crystalline artifact without revealing too much. Certain details warranted discretion until further study. Scientists listened intently, scribbling notes and firing follow-up questions. Theories abounded. Was the storm a natural phenomenon or artificial defense? Could the alien ship represent a lost civilization or something else entirely? Behind closed doors, debriefings continued for days. Military officials expressed interest in weaponizing the alien technology, while ethicists cautioned against meddling with forces beyond human understanding. Environmentalists argued the ship's biological nature hinted at sustainable solutions for Earth's ecological crises. Meanwhile, engineers dissected the data collected during the mission, dreaming of applications that could revolutionize space travel. For the crew, returning home brought mixed emotions. Reunions with loved ones were joyful yet bittersweet. Priya hugged her children tightly, promising never to leave again. But deep down, she knew the call of exploration would tug at her heart eventually. Marcus embraced his wife, marveling at the simplicity of holding someone after months spent contemplating existential dread. Jace visited old friends, recounting tales of near-death experiences with a mix of bravado and humility. Ava called her parents, describing the alien vessel in awestruck tones, though she doubted they fully grasped the magnitude of what she'd witnessed. Elena retreated to her apartment, finding comfort in solitude. Reports piled up on her desk, awaiting review and submission. Yet she couldn't bring herself to write the final sentence, not yet. Something about closing this chapter felt premature, as though their journey wasn't truly over. Perhaps it never would be. Time passed, and life moved forward. The crew dispersed, each pursuing paths shaped by their shared odyssey. Marcus returned to engineering, mentoring young technicians eager to learn from his experiences. He often spoke of humility in the face of the unknown, urging students to approach problems with open minds rather than preconceived notions. His lectures became legendary, inspiring a new generation of innovators. Priya dedicated herself to research, collaborating with biologists, physicists, and philosophers to unravel the alien ship's secrets. Her work gained international recognition, earning grants and accolades. Yet she remained grounded, reminding colleagues that discovery wasn't about glory, it was about understanding. Late at night, she gazed at the stars, wondering if the living ship still drifted somewhere among them. Jace resumed piloting missions, pushing boundaries farther than ever before. His reputation as a skilled navigator grew, attracting offers from private companies and government agencies alike. Despite lucrative opportunities, he stayed loyal to Earth's exploration program, driven by a desire to protect humanity's future among the stars. Sometimes, he dreamed of the storm, waking with a start but smiling afterward, grateful for second chances. Ava transitioned into documentary filmmaking, capturing stories of space exploration with unparalleled authenticity. Her footage of the alien vessel became the centerpiece of a groundbreaking series, sparking public fascination with the cosmos. Viewers marveled at her ability to convey wonder and awe, unaware of how deeply personal those emotions were. In interviews, she encouraged others to embrace curiosity, believing knowledge held the key to overcoming fear. Elena accepted a promotion to oversee interstellar operations, guiding missions with wisdom born of hard-won experience. She advocated for cautious progress, balancing ambition with ethics. Under her leadership, humanity took tentative steps toward the stars, mindful of lessons learned aboard the Aurora Dash. Occasionally, she visited museums housing artifacts recovered from the alien ship, standing quietly before displays that reminded her of how much remained unknown. Years later, news broke of another anomaly detected near Andromeda. Speculation ran rampant. Was it another storm? Another derelict vessel? Whatever it was, explorers prepared to investigate, armed with knowledge gleaned from the Aurora's crew. Among them were fresh faces inspired by legends of survival and discovery. As ships launched into the void, veterans watched with pride, knowing their legacy endured. If you've journeyed this far with us, consider subscribing for more tales of wonder and intrigue spanning galaxies untold. Your support fuels our passion for storytelling, bringing these cosmic adventures to life. Until next time, keep looking skyward. The universe holds infinite possibilities, waiting for those brave enough to explore. Thank you for watching, and remember, the stars are calling. Answer wisely.